a rejoinder to the manifest falsehood, fallacious claims by Mr. Peter Afunanya, spokesperson of the Department of State Services DSS headquarters, Abuja. The DSS is experts in enforcement of forceful disappearance of innocent citizens. Amnesty International is impeccably correct and deserves an apology from the DSS. For the purpose of this piece, it is imperative that we have the background knowledge of the meaning of enforced disappearance and how it is classified as a crime against humanity. Background.
Enforced disappearance.
Definition: an enforced disappearance is the secret abduction or imprisonment of a person by a state or political organization, or by a third party with the authorization, support or acquiescence of a state or political organization, followed by a refusal to acknowledge the person's fate and whereabout with the intent of placing the victim outside the protection of the law. International Convention on Enforced Disappearance. The International Convention for the Protection of All Persons from Enforced Disappearance, ICPED, is an international human rights instrument by the United Nations intended to prevent forced disappearance, which is defined in international law, is part of crime against humanity. This convention was adopted by the General Assembly of the United Nations in its Resolution 47/133 and came into force on the 23rd of December 2010. Nigeria is a state party to the International Convention for the Protection of All Persons from Enforced Disappearance. Is the State Security Service conscious of this convention in the discharge of its statutory mandates? The answer is capital No. My attention has been drawn to the press statement credited to the DSS national spokesperson, Mr. Peter Afunanya, in relation to this subject. I initially treated the obvious misinformation from the DSS, emanating from their spokesperson as part of social media contrives until I watched the video clip last night. A careful look at Mr. Afunanya's facial expression, as he was busy vainly trying to distort facts, depicts that of a drowning man struggling to survive, and strenuously conjecturing blatant lies to defend the uncivil activities of a supposed democratic institution like the DSS. If one may ask, if the operatives of the DSS style of operation is not by enforcing forceful disappearance, kidnapping and abduction of innocent citizens at the wee hours of the night, what other style permissible under the law have they been adopting in their operations? Maybe Mr. Afunanya will throw more light on this. May I remind Mr. Afunanya that my office has countless number of judgments and orders from courts of competent jurisdiction, compelling the DSS to produce those they abducted at the wee hours of the night and release them unconditionally. The list is endless. Mr. Afunanya should recall that on the 6th day of June, 2021, the operatives of the DSS led a bloody onslaught in my peaceful home in Orifetit, and during that murderous assault on my peaceful home, the invaders gruesomely murdered my personal assistant, dumped his lifeless body inside the boot of my car, zoomed off with his corpse, which they later set ablaze inside my car round Nanin town in Anambra State. What a crime against humanity. Can this dastardly act be defended under any law, Mr. Afunanya? During the same unprovoked murderous attack on my peaceful home, 3 of my domestic staff were abducted by the soulless operatives of the DSS in conjunction with their criminal counterparts in security uniforms. These persons, namely, 1 Mr. Felix Okonkwo, driver, 2 Mr. Okafor Lawrence Ugochukwu, gardener, and 3 Ikinichibuka, steward, are still being held in the detention facility of the DSS here in Abuja since the 6th day of June, 2021 to date. The same office from where Mr. Afunanya is shamelessly dishing out falsehood. What other term could be used to describe this type of operation, if not forceful kidnapping and enforced disappearance of innocent Nigerian citizens? More worrisome is that after being served with judgment, order of court of competent jurisdiction, directing for the immediate release of the 3 domestic staff abducted from my residence, the DSS is still manifestly in contempt of the court judgment, orders, or can it be said that Mr. IFEANYI is disputing the findings of fact and judgment of the learned trial judge in Re Mr. EJIOFOR EJIOFOR versus Nigeria Police Force, Annals. Suit No. FHC Orc. CS 56 2021, which found the operatives of the State Security Service liable for the bloody invasion of my peaceful home, murder of my PE, and abduction of my 3 domestic staff. A copy of the certified true copy of the aforesaid judgment was duly served on the State Security Service. It is disheartening to note that in this 21st century, the DSS is treating with greatest contempt the orders of courts of competent jurisdiction served on them. Should the public not be aware, may they be properly guided today. The DSS has by their very modus operandi constituted themselves into a law, even under a democratic government. Otherwise, how can one explain that over 10 pronouncements and directives of the Federal High Court Abuja, Koram Nyako J, affecting the management and welfare of our indefatigable clients, Orni and Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, were all flouted with impunity by the DSS? The most troubling part is the specific orders of the court requiring admittance of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu's personal physician for an independent medical opinion on his health status, but till date, the DSS continues to flout this order of court with impunity. The list is endless. The brief list of the names of those still in the DSS custody will be provided. Heroinda. These are persons who the DSS variously enforced their disappearances at the wee hours of the night without any court order, and any time we succeeded in securing order from court granting them bail, the DSS will quickly rush back to the Federal High Court to obtain their own order to legitimize their illegal act. This is applicable to those the DSS managed to have admitted being in their custody, whilst we still have innocent citizens in their numbers still languishing in the DSS custody, even with verifiable evidence to show that they are being detained in the DSS custody, all kidnapped at ungodly hours of the night, which the DSS is stoutly denying being in their custody. As a matter of fact, the DSS is the last security outfit that will ever contemplate granting access to lawyers and relatives to visit their clients, loved ones held in their custody, even when there are subsisting court orders to that effect. Nigerians should be bold enough to demand from Mr. IFEANYI the whereabouts of the underlisted civilians whose enforced disappearances were carried out by DSS. It is to be noted that no one has ever seen these persons since the day they were abducted. Even we, their lawyers and their relatives, have been bluntly denied access to them by DSS. Our team of lawyers have separately commenced fundamental rights enforcement actions on their behalf. Until date, we are yet to set our eyes on them, including some of them judgment has been obtained on their behalf, directing for their unconditional release. Yet, the DSS is yet to comply. They are as follows: Jude Chiksobasi, abducted and enforced disappearance since the 31st of March, 2021. Judgment already entered for his unconditional release, but till date, Mr. IFEANYI and his office are yet to comply with this court judgment. Chidibe Esefu, abducted and enforced disappearance on the 8th of November, 2021. Judgment already entered for his unconditional release, but till date, Mr. IFEANYI and his office are yet to comply with this court judgment. Godwin Juidera, abducted and enforced disappearance since the 8th of November, 2021. Ekechukwu Henry, abducted and enforced disappearance on the 23rd of August 2021. Mr. Ifedi Sunday, and Mrs. Ifedi Kalista, husband and wife, abducted and enforced their disappearance on the 15th of November 2021. Solomon Onyugbulam, abducted and enforced disappearance since the 8th of March 2021. Ezek Wisdom Wambam, abducted and enforced disappearance on the 26th of June 2021. Kenneth Oyemah, abducted and enforced disappearance on the 26th of June 2021. Ornibi Chenonso, abducted and enforced disappearance on the 26th of June 2021. Ego Johnson, abducted and enforced disappearance on the 26th of June 2021. Okazi Fortune, abducted and enforced disappearance on the 26th of June 2021. David Ogbonaya, abducted and enforced disappearance on the 26th of June 2021. Shinidu Nwaba, abducted and enforced disappearance on the 26th of June 2021. Arja Joseph, abducted and enforced disappearance on the 26th of June 2021. Barrister Awoka, abducted and enforced disappearance on the 26th of June 2021. Kingsley Chema, abducted and enforced disappearance on the 26th of February 2021. Emma Korengonade, abducted and enforced disappearance on the 10th of April 2021. Okpai Michael, abducted and enforced disappearance on the 20th of May 2021. Ebelim Tachukwu, abducted and enforced disappearance on the 15th of June 2021. Shinidu Ijeju, abducted and enforced disappearance in November 2021, etc. The list is endless. Mr. Afunonya is therefore implored to advise his office to first purge themselves of the contempt of plethora of court orders hanging on their necks, before going public to further expose their office to ridicule. Many thanks to Amnesty International for calling a spade by its very name without minding whose ox is gored. It is our respectful observation that by the time this current administration is over, they will be celebrated as the award-winning, famous administration under whose tenure and watch rules of law were brazenly violated and relegated to the background, also under whose watch there is an outrageous record of human rights violations. There are stunning records of extrajudicial killings of innocent citizens being abducted by overzealous security agents and murdered at the wee hours of the night. Under the infamous tenure of the disgraced and suspended DCP Abba Kyari, over 100 innocent Igbo youths arrested from various states across the southeast were murdered in custody. We have direct eyewitness accounts to this, and in the fullness of time, the International Criminal Court will have a date with the perpetrators of these crimes against humanity. Thank you all and God bless. Signed, Sir EFEANYI EJIOFOR, Esquire KSC, IPOB's lead counsel, the 2nd of September 2022.
Please kindly subscribe, follow and share at Prince Biafra for more in all social media platforms.